Hey, this is Kaizoku Uncharted. We're a couple of siblings tell the vast sea of anime. If you think this is the crew for you, set sail with us each week. I'm Jakia.
And Justin. And this week we are discussing the most notorious talker runs the world's greatest clan.
Yes.
I love this show.
This is such a good show, okay? I think you suggested this show. It was good. I wasn't expecting it, but I was like, oh my, I didn't know what to expect with like,
Sure.
With the title being like Notorious Talker, I was like,
Right.
What does that mean?
Sure.
And so I actually didn't read the synopsis for this before watching it.
You did not.
I did not. So I took a page out of your book and I went to it like.
This blind.
Yes, and I'm glad I did. I'm better for it.
Oh.
And
What is the synopsis?
Alright, so Noel longs to be a seeker like his heroic grandfather, slaying the beasts that emerge from the abyss and exploring far-off lands. Unfortunately, it turns out he's nothing but a measly talker, a job with no combat skills whatsoever. Undaunted, Noel sets out to establish the strongest clan in all the land, using his silver-tongued talker skills to unite assassins and heroes under his leadership. Now, this is a class that I haven't seen before.
Okay.
And maybe it's just like, I don't know, maybe I haven't been paying attention, but I've never heard about there being like a class called Talker.
Yeah.
So I was just like, what does this mean? What's happening? And it basically turns out that he's like a talker is someone who just speaks, they're like a tactician, a strategist. They can do buffs over people. They're a really good support role. I feel like they're like a really good support role, even though people talk like they claim that they're the weakest class. It's also a rare class.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay. And
it's a supporter.
It's a supporter. And we come to find out that Noel's grandfather was the strongest seeker in the world at the time, and he's no longer with us. He has passed. And that's his main goal. He's like, I'm gonna surpass him.
Right.
And I'm gonna do that because he trained me knowing that this was my goal anyway. This was our goal. And I was like, all right, we're a unit. Yeah. So I'm just like, where to start off? Immediately, there's just like so much that's happening. There's just so much that's happening. I will say, so we first meet Noel, because we get backstory a little bit later, but we meet his original group of people. We got
Blue Beyond.
The Blue Beyond. We have Walter.
The tank.
He's a tank. He's an attacker. Then we have Lloyd, who's allegedly the leader, but I wouldn't have known from the way he was carrying on. And then what was the girl's name? Tanya, right? And at first I was worried because in other shows,
sure,
immediately when there's a weaker class, the party's trash, right? Absolutely, but they didn't do that. They were like, hey, we're a unit. We all understand everyone's role.
It seemed wholesome.
It was wholesome. They knew that. Hey,
they needed each other.
They knew that they needed each other, and they knew his role and how important it, impacted their skills. They're just like, hey, without you being here, like with you being here, like I'm able to like be I'm 25% stronger. Right. All this stuff. Even when it came time to celebrate in the pub, they're just like, hey, what's wrong? Like we split it all evenly, and I was like, you don't see this often.
Now,
okay.
Something came up.
Okay.
They finally had enough money or funds where they figured it's time to go to the next step.
Well, no, Noel did. Noel thought it was time to go to the next step.
Well, people agreed.
Walter agreed.
It was a group decision.
It was supposed to be a group decision. And the goal was the next step is to become a clan. Okay? Because apparently if you're just a party, in order to participate in quests, they're given to clans, but they will contract the work out to parties, but the parties have to pay the clans a commission fee, which I think is messed up. I was like, that's crazy.
No, it makes sense.
I don't know.
Hey, then go become a clan.
Not everybody can afford that.
Well, then I guess you're a party.
Okay, all right. Anyways, but yeah, so it's time to go to the next level. Or Noel's like, hey, it's time to go to the next level. I got goals. I got dreams. Like, I already told y'all this from the get-go. And he was like, hey, we have about 12 million this. And it costs like 20 million to become a clan. Plus getting a house and like getting a clan house. And they're just like, we only got 12 mil. He said, don't worry, I'm going to give y'all the 7.2 or whatever. And I was like, well, how'd you get this money? But I was like, never mind. But he was gonna, yeah. And then Walter's like, you know what? Yeah. And Lloyd and Tanya's like, absolutely not. And then Lloyd's like, you know what? No, let's do it. But I didn't trust it. I was like, something's off. I was like, why is Tanya so hesitant? I said, what's going on? And then we come to find out. Because now Walter's like, cool. Like, Lloyd's like, hey, let's come back in, 3 days.
That's me here.
And talk it out now that we've calmed down and, we just got back from a mission. I said, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I said, I don't know about 3 days, but sure. But I was like, everybody recuperates in different ways.
First of all, I left my A-Reg party. They do that in 3 days.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the actual what groups and parties are supposed to do.
Take 3 days. Who?
Right.
Okay, sure.
Decompress, free day, prepare.
That's true. Okay, fine. All right. Yeah. So then Walter comes to Noel's room and he's like, yo, calm down. They skipped town. He said, what do you mean? And then Noel's calm about it. Down. And Noel's like really calm about it, which I thought was crazy. He was like, okay, I get it. He said, that makes sense. He said, okay, we're going to handle this. Don't worry about it.
This is when I knew Noel was the business.
He's a menace to society. He's so crazy. I was like, he's a menace to society. He is that guy. He is that problem. You don't want that. He's the smoke. He's the fire. He's the wood. Do not play with Noel.
If we don't get
a season 2?
No. If we don't get a date when this season 2 is dropping, I'm just going to have to rewatch season 1 to hold me over.
It's fine. Because, you can do that. And so, and I think the part that, this is like a sidebar, I think what I love most about this show is like he's a notorious talker.
Right.
Like him being sassy and rude to people has nothing to do with his talker class. He's just a rude person. He's just a rude person.
That's who he is.
So anyways, they go ahead and, they go to the pub. They go to the bar or whatever to be like, hey, they skipped town. They stole our money. Whoever helps us find them, I'll give them $2 million on the spot. And then we finally meet the
shady crew.
We meet a couple of people. We meet the lightning bite, and I was like, who are these people?
Oh, they're awesome.
They're great. But at first I was like, why is he so excited? I said, what's going on? He was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then later on, once the place closes, Noel's like, darn it, I didn't find the people I needed. And then we meet this shady guy who's like, hey, you really meant what you said?
What was it, like in an alley?
It was.
That's where all the best talking happens.
Apparently, he was like, he said, yeah, I got information on them where they at. And then Noel's like, hey, if we go, like, let's go today. And he was like, I'll give you the money. And the guy was like, you for real? Because there's 4 people in my party and we need this money. And he was just like, I'll give you $1 million. He was just like, no, 2. He said, no. You're just giving me information. You didn't catch him, so... Right.
This is where we are.
And then, so they go, but then Noel's like, hey, I'll be back. I gotta go handle something. And I'm just like, whatever it was that he handled, it was a business. So we ended up, because they left on foot, Lloyd and Tanya, because they ain't had no money. Right? So then we come across them in this town. And Lloyd and Noel just goes in. He's just like, y'all enjoying this town? He's like, I'm sorry you just have to see us here. And then we find out, because Noel ends up making them tell the truth because of his skills. Right. Which we find out is a legal thing. So I'm just like, okay, so how is this a weak class if basically all that they can do is very like severely limited and against the law? So then we come to find out from Tanya and Lloyd that they've been gambling the money. And Tanya was involved, and Tanya was like, we would have won it back if he let me play more.
That's true.
It was a whole thing. And then, like, Lloyd's like, hey, come on, like, let's, you can just go, like, it's whatever, like, just call it under the bridge. And then, like you said, Noel's like, I'm going to pay you back tenfold, friends or enemies.
This is how it becomes notorious. Not only did he use the skills that he ain't supposed to use.
Yes.
He went ahead and contacted...
Finecchio.
Who
is that guy? He is crazy.
He's a slave trader.
He's everything. He is everything.
He literally
is. He's in that business. He handles the local mafia. He's a high lieutenant in the mafia. He's handling he's keeping tabs on the drug scene and everything. He's that guy. But no, so before Finecchio comes, this is important because like Noel is an equal opportunist because he was like going in on Lloyd. He was kicking him to hide everything. And Tanya's like, no, don't do it. And he was like, you want me to do it? He said, you can take his place because I'm an equal opportunist. He said, everyone can get these legs.
And that's true.
At any time. And then Finecchio pulls up and he was like, are these the people? And Noel sells them because he stole his money.
And not
to get it back.
Those other people are watching. This is how the notoriousness spreads. That he is selling his party members.
Yes.
To be slaves.
It was crazy.
And no, what was crazy is the two-facedness. Because Tanya started going off. She's like, Walter, save me. Ain't you supposed to be in love with me? Yeah. You're worthless.
Absolutely. And even Finecchio was like, oh my gosh. Like, let's keep it classy. And there was a lot of two-faced moments in this show. A lot of two-faced moments. But basically, Noel gets his money back and then some because he strikes up a deal with Finecchio. And Finecchio's like, hey, we're not really trying to be buying people like this right now, so I'm gonna give you this much. And Noel's like... He's
like, I'm actually gonna need this much.
I'm gonna need this much. He said, they're beautiful people. We're beautiful people. So I'm gonna need you to up this. And then Finecchio's like, okay, and they go back and forth. So that was pretty good. So yeah, and that's what, like you said, that's how the rumor starts. Because immediately, like later on in the series, like we got people talking about something. Oh my gosh, be wary of him. He sold his teammates.
That's that guy.
And I was just like, what? It was crazy. And then so then they go back and then Noel's like, Walter, like, I'm gonna still go forward with this plan. Like, I'm gonna open up this clan.
Walter was done.
He was done. Like, he's just like, maybe this ain't the life for me anymore. And it ain't.
It's cutthroat.
And like Noel said, you're not smart, but you're strong. And I could use you.
Hey, that's real. That's real.
It was really real. He was like, you sure? And he's just like, he was like, I'm not cut out for this. And that happened.
Hey, he got his money though.
He did get his money though. They parted ways, and then Noel's like, okay, I gotta get a new party.
I love that Wolf from Lightning Bike just trying to recruit him. He was like, come join us, man.
And then he was like, I'll do it if I'm the leader. And then he was like, wait, where does that leave me? And his whole party was like, I'm down for that.
Right. I like the banter between them.
Yeah, it's a good group. It's a good group.
They know, all right, cool. He sold his ex-party to slavery. But
like,
they still talk to him.
They're just like, we know who he actually is. We know. They're like, they knew that there was more to the story. So I think they were just like, man, they skipped town. It was a whole thing. But, so then he's out on the lookout for his new party, and that's when we meet Alma. She's that guy. She's that lady. She's all about the business. She's a top assassin. Yes. She came looking for us. She came looking for us, and then Noel's like, okay. And then she also like, there's too many people coming up to people trying to be all like, well, what are you doing here? Who are you? And I'm just like, if you're going to do that, you need to get ready. You need to be prepared to, get taken out. And that's what happened. So anyway.
Did he keep the name Blue Beyond?
He kept Blue Beyond. His goal was to keep Blue Beyond until it's time for him to go. Until it's time for him to like become the clan, because he said he was going to change the name.
Because when you have a clan,
you have to change the name. Okay. But no, he's Blue Beyond, so it was just him and Alma. They Blue Beyond. I said that's them. That's the party.
Hey, that's all they needed.
I mean, that's all they needed, and it's true. They had a good system going. Speeding up, we ended up going to this town because the mayor was like, "Hey, I'm gonna hire Blue Beyond to take out, like 20 bandits." Noel gets there, and he's just like, it's just you? And he's like, yeah, but we got it. And then he's like, okay, so Noel and Alma go. Noel's like, this is crazy. Because he's just like, this is not, he said, what made him think this was 20 people? This is like at least 40 to 50 people.
Right. The dude lied about the amount of people.
Yeah.
Come to find out, lied about the reward.
He was fine giving us half the money up front, allegedly. And then later, once we handled the business and complete the job.
So I think, because he was hoping we both took each other out. Right. And then that way he only got away with having to spend half the funds.
Right. And then he was just like, oh my gosh, let's have food, let's have wine, all this stuff. And
it's a dark show.
It was a dark show. It happened so crazy. Because, like, the mayor's daughter took a liking to Noel, and, like, she's like, hey, I'm a
Chelsea.
Chelsea's I'm gonna work hard to become a seeker and join your party. Noel's like, cool. As long as you, like, put in the work, absolutely. Right? He's just like, I can always use useful people. And then that's when Noel and Alma, they're a good unit. They both on the same page. And he's just like, Mayor's like, hey, you two have a drink, thanks. And then they're just like, why don't you have this drink since it's so new and it's a special occasion? Y'all go first. And then he's like, no, we couldn't. He said, why? You don't want the poison you were going to serve? And he was like, how dare you? And then the wife hides the bottle. And I was like, it's too late for you. And then the daughter's like, no. And then he's just like, you're trying to kill us. And he just laid it down. He was like, first you lied about the number of people.
Not true.
Then he was like, then you don't have the money. And he's just like, no, it's basically like, look, I'm leaving here with something.
Yeah, right.
And
so he took the family savings.
He took the family
as compensation.
Well, no, he took his he took his eye.
He took his eye too.
He took the mayor's eye because he lied. Because like Noah's like, hey,
and they're about to kill the wife.
Yeah, because Noah's like, as long as you don't lie to me, we fine. Like, because it was like, he was like, we are having a great time. And then the daughter was like, here's all of our savings, which ended up being more than, what the reward was. Because Noel's like, no, you need to give me everything because you're going to kill both of us.
Right.
And then immediately Chelsea turned on. She's like, I hate you. I hate seekers.
Yeah.
And
she became cynical.
Right. And I'm just like, didn't you just see how your father and mom were about
matter.
It didn't matter. And
prediction?
Yes.
Season 3 or 4.
Chelsea coming? Chelsea's coming back?
Chelsea
with a vengeance?
Been grown up a bit. I don't know how.
I don't think so. I thought she died.
Did she die? I don't think she died.
No, she did because remember they go further up and then it's like remember somebody has like the charred, like the toy that he made for her and it was like charred up or whatever because they sent people to that town. To Gambino, remember? Because like the new boss took him out. That's what I thought.
Oh, maybe
it was crazy, but hey,
that'd be the perfect story. He thinks she did.
It's true, and then she's back, and then she's totally.
And that would mean she hates Seekers even more.
Absolutely, yeah. But so Chelsea, I think that would be a great idea if Chelsea comes back. But anywho, so then. Because, before he took the stuff, the mayor was like, hey, no, I'm in deep with the Gambino family. And then he was like, that's none of my business. He said that story doesn't have anything like a personal problem. Right. But this comes back because later on, the mayor has to go to the city to, pay what's due to the Gambino family, which is like a subgroup underneath Finecchio's group. And the mayor lies on Noel. And basically says like, hey, he talked all this smack about you. He
did show up.
He said, but one eye, he said he took my eye. And it's crazy because this is me jumping up because we meet Koga. We meet like this swordsman and this dwarf who owns him.
Right.
And that we also find out that they end up being summoned to the Gambinos too. But then so like the mayor's there. He said, yeah, he took my eye and all this other stuff. And then Gambino's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And he was like, yes. He said, don't worry, I'll give you time to still pay what you owe. And he was like, thank you. And he was like, but I'm going to take your right arm since he took your right eye. So that way it matches.
Yeah, that guy was crazy.
He was wild. Like I was like, oh my gosh. Like it just got dark really fast. And then Koga ended up taking the mayor's arm. It was wild. It was wild.
Hey, they had to do that to make it themselves. Because we found them in the slums. It was that little noble from another land in Koga, and they had to make it.
They had to make it. So,
survival of the fittest.
It really was. And so we just keep learning more about the world and like the underworkings of this town, of this city. It was getting out of hand because then we find out there was a drug that's on that's like rampant because we learned from our informant Loki, who's a real one.
Is he though?
He's a real one because even though he betrayed us.
Oh, okay, cool.
And Noel says it too. Noel's like, I'm not mad at the fact that you betrayed me because like you getting paid.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
And he was just like, but just know that I get even with people. And he's like, I'm gonna call on you someday. And later on he does, and they get it fair and square. But anyway, so Loki lets us know that there's like this drug thing that's going rampant. And and we come to find out it's like the Gambino family is the one that's peddling it out.
Right.
But yeah, so it gets wild because, Noel ends up taking a liking to Koga because he was like, oh, this would be another good person to add to my group with me and Alma. Alma's like, I'm not a fan.
Because she wants to be a friend. Like, she's not a true attacker.
She's not a true attacker. She's not.
We need someone who's up front.
Absolutely.
But she's about that life. She wants to be.
She does. She's just like, say the word and I'll just change my class. But I do like the fact that there's all these grandkids that's carrying on the wheels of their grandfathers.
Right.
And I was just like, this is a different twist. I was like, and they all can back it up. So I was like, I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this at all.
All of this is happening.
Yes.
There's someone in jail.
Yes, that he's actively been recruiting for months.
Hugo.
Who's the puppeteer. And I was like...
I can't wait till we get this guy.
Absolutely, because we don't get him. Because Noel already said it like, don't worry, I'm going to give you your freedom, don't worry. And he's just like, no, like I'm on death row. He said, don't worry, I'm working on it, I got a guy. Like, he's like, I got a guy. So he's just like... And he just comes to the prison to tell Hugo of all his exploits, of all the stuff that he's doing.
Like, why are you telling me these?
He's just like, I'm just trying to keep you in the loop for when the time comes, you're up to date with
He's like, I don't want to be a seeker no more.
He's just like, yeah, you do. He's like, yeah, you do.
This party's ridiculous.
It's going to be great. I can't wait for when Hugo, because I was hoping that they were going to end the season with us having Hugo. Sure. But it would have been too much to ask for.
Well,
Too much ass.
Not having him was better because I was like, oh, season 2.
Yeah, because when we find out his backstory, I was like, oh, this is a bad man. Okay, like the way he was a one man seeker party. It was just him and his puppets. Right. That was it.
We won't need our clan is going. We might be the smallest clan because it's like we might not need too many people.
I don't think so. I think
especially with these puppets.
Absolutely, I think it's just gonna be huge. I know because we ended up getting.
Oh, Leon.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Yo, the way this dude talks is just some next level stuff. So there's a contest between the winged...
It's like the Winged Knights or something.
Right. And Blue Beyond. Yes, the Winged Knights.
Yeah.
And we both gonna have to take on...
This Dante... Don Leon or like that monkey thing. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
And you just knew it was like, what did Noel do? Because first when we show up, he's like, yo, this ain't and like, it's whoever kills him. They're like, it is what it is. These dudes pull up and they eating lunch.
They having a picnic. And it was crazy because like, even before that, I think it was quite... Because the Winged Knights get a letter, get a letter, and then go to the guild, and he's like, I'm glad that you y'all want to be a clan or whatever, but he said, no one sent this out. And they're just like, what do you mean?
He just be messing with people.
He's just messing with people. But you're right, so we go to the contest, and like, they're just out on, they pull out a whole picnic, which I thought was fantastic.
Chilling.
Yeah, and I think because Koga and Alma are like, should we be eating right now? And then he's like, let them handle it. Don't worry. But anyway, as you were saying, they pulled out a whole picnic.
And then we come to find out, we start, as the Winged Knights are fighting the main enemy, having difficulty, we find out Noel was trying to recruit everybody from the Wing Knights.
But Leon.
Right, but Leon.
He was like, yeah, just betray the I'll give you your freedom.
But the mind games eventually told everybody that Leon will betray all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did some.
I was curious though, because like before, because I appreciate the fact of his name's Vaclav, the beastman that's in the group. He was like, hey, before we get started, I want y'all to know he approached me the other day.
I did appreciate that.
I appreciate that. And I was like, whoa, if he didn't say anything.
I know, everybody. Just that elf.
I know. Ophelia's the worst.
I ain't trust her.
Hey, we haven't trusted Ophelia since she started spouting out all the malice things about us.
Oh yeah, she was one of the people spreading the news about us enslaving people to save her.
The first one, even for, she's like, "Hey, be careful of him because he sold his teammates."
He a slave trader.
And then Noel's like, "That's right, I did it." He said, "It's true, it happened." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But I was just like, "Yo, if he didn't say nothing, nobody was gonna say anything."
They was just gonna keep it to themselves.
I was like, "That's suspicious." But yeah, so it was, yeah, and they're just like, oh no, he said that you were going to betray us. And then it got to the point where, you know, they were having difficulty. They weren't going to win. They weren't going to survive. And Leon was like, hey, we need to turn back and ask and team up with Noel. And then everyone's were just like, and then Keem was like, he was right. And Ophelia's like, it's true. He said you were going to betray us. And then Vaclav was like, this is what the betrayal was. And I was like, man, that's crazy. And then out of the thicket, here comes Noel talking about some, hello, I'm here. And he's just like watching that party basically just disintegrate and crumble. Because, like, Keem's like, how could you do this? And then Leon's like, what are you talking about? And then Keem stabs him.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he said, you betrayed us. And I was like, but you stabbed him.
Right.
I was like, this is crazy. And Ophelia and Vaclav didn't do anything. They're just like, oh, this is it. I'm just like, this party was always like Noel said.
It was always on lightning.
It was like, your party was on death's door the whole time. And so they immediately took out the beast.
Took care of it.
And, you know, they took care of it with, like, you know, with haste. They were just like, they were in and out. They handled the business. And, yeah, and I think what I love most about this is before all of this happens, Noel was with Alma and Koga talking about we need a story. We need people to know who we are. And this was all tied to them getting a story because, like, the bet was, like, whoever wins gets their thing approved, but whoever loses has to disband and they can't team up as a party ever again. And so, because of this, now the Wing Knights that everybody was like, oh, this is one of the next promising groups, they were disbanded, and so that's the story. And then what even made the story even more scandalous is that Noel took Leon, and Leon joined the group.
They started badmouthing like, oh my God.
He's a traitor. He's a traitor.
He was like, don't look back. I was like...
Noel's like, don't you do it. He was like, give him the dignity he deserves.
Side note, that dude's name is Miguel.
Yeah, Miguel. Miguel's the worst. But yeah, Noel was like, don't you do it. He said, we gotta keep going.
He was right.
He was right. And so they kept going. That was a new party. That's because now we got our new clan name or whole thing, and we out. We out doing missions immediately.
Wild Tempest.
Right, yeah, we're the Wild Tempest now. We find out that Harold Jenkins is like, hey, this is who I'm betting on. I'm betting on him to be the one to lead us through this next thing, through this next war that's about to happen.
Yeah, it has all the makings of a new season.
Absolutely, because, you know, Noah was like, hey, he said, in a year, we join the Regalia. And then he was like, actually change that 6 months. Let's get it together.
Man, I wish I had that written down, because I wrote the names of all the high clans and all the Regalias. Yeah. I was just like, yo.
Because we find out that Zeke Feinstein, he's a part of the main one. The the main regalia, and I don't think he likes it.
No,
he doesn't. But yeah, so like you said, this show has everything it needs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the new season. Noel has been a man of his word this entire time. He's gonna be the strongest seeker in all the world. So I'm here for the ride. I'm just here along for the ride to see what happens. So yeah, that's all I got.
Great show.
It's a great show. Yeah, waiting for that next season. That's it. Yeah. Well, actually, do you think Loki is gonna join our party?
Informant.
Because he's an informant. Like, we always giving him work.
So similar to reincarnated, aristocrat. But I wouldn't say Loki has the. We can't really use his. I don't think he has the combat prowess. So he'll just always be the informant, and we'll take it.
Okay. And what did you think about Pinocchio trying to recruit Noel? I think it was a good decision. I think it was a good idea.
Well, yeah.
But his powers were like, that was crazy. Like he took his heart out of his whole body. I said, oh my gosh. I was like, so we need to be careful with Pinocchio.
Yeah, no, he's a menace.
No, he's definitely a menace. I wonder if we'll ever meet the leader of the Luciano. I wonder if we'll ever meet him.
Who knows? I think Pinocchio might take him down.
Do you think he's trying to do a coup?
That's why he wanted him. That's why I want to know.
That's a thought.
I can see some stuff happening here.
That's a thought. But yeah, that's all I got. That's this week's episode of Kaizoku Uncharted, and yeah.